The fall of the Roman Empire created a power vacuum that allowed for the rise of the Islamic Empire. After the split between the East and the West, the eastern half of the empire was able to survive and was based at Constantinople. While in a weak state though, they would have to face the newly emerging Islamic powers. In addition, the weakening Persian Empire soon decided to accept defeat and began incorporating their society into the Muslim Empire. Islam began in the early 600s CE, when a merchant named Muhammad proclaimed himself as the prophet of God. He was said to have seen an angel that told him to preach the monotheistic idea of one God, and he did just that. Muhammad began his expansion of Islam by gathering a small army to conquer Mecca, and later moved into Medina. As the years progressed, Islamic influence continued to unite the previous Arab tribes and expand, beginning with the Umayyad Empire from 661 to 750 CE, and later the Abbasid Empire from 750 to 1258 CE. During the Abbasid Golden Age, new trade routes were established that created wealth and prosperity, as well as promoted the spread of ideas and goods across Asia. Baghdad became known as the new capital of the Islamic world in 750 CE. Here, the House of Wisdom became a place that scholars from across the globe came to in order to share ideas and innovate society in the fields of medicine, mathematics, science, astronomy, philosophy, and many more. One very important scholar of the time, Al-Biruni, made many developments in mathematics, including the discovery of algebra, and made improvements in astronomy and geometry. Some important features of his work include an illustration that explains the different phases of the moon and the lunar eclipse, as well as a method he used to estimate the radius and circumference of the Earth. Another important city of the Golden Age that rivaled Baghdad for most achievements was Cordoba, Spain. Here, math and the Hebrew language were rediscovered by Jewish, Christian, and Muslim scholars. Greek philosophy was also translated and preserved. Music also seemed to be a great part of the culture in Spain. One musician, Ziryab, or Blackbird, who was originally from Baghdad but relocated to Spain, created the first music school in Europe, in Cordoba, around the 800s CE. His work and others greatly influenced Spanish music thereafter. After the Mongol invasion and burning of Baghdad, the Abbasid became weakened. While the Abbasid's ideas and achievements lived on, Islamic power overall declined. In addition to other factors, such as the Sunni-Shiite split that began an ongoing internal religious divide, the fractured Islamic world allowed the Abbasid Empire to fall in the 1200s CE. The remaining power was then divided amongst the Ottomans, the Safavids, and the Mughals. The succeeding power, the Ottomans, was left extremely vulnerable to Europeans. The British made the first move by assuming control through funding and diplomacy. Similarly, during World War I, Germany allied with the Ottomans with the promise of Arab independence. Instead, the Germans take power, which sets in motion many of the catastrophic events that have taken place and are still taking place in the Middle East ever since. Now the final question remains, if so many achievements of the Abbasid Empire influence our society today, why is so little known about them? The simple answer is Orientalism, which Edward Said explores in depth. In short, he explores the stereotyping of Eastern countries that takes place, specifically the view that countries in the East are not as civilized or advanced as those in the West. A common Westerner's perception of the Middle Eastern world is basically terrorism, and therefore it obscures the true nature and ideas that that part of the world has to offer.